Now on the Locked On Celtics podcast, Jayson Tatum wants to get his return right the first time. Plus, Joe Mazzulla weighs in on the controversy.
Locked On Celtics pod, home of the winners. Baby.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here in the Locked On Podcast Network. It's not a controversy, but, you know, Jayson Tatum, it's a drama. Well, I don't know how to characterize it, but we're going to be talking about it here on the Locked On Celtics podcast. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast. Is what we do 5 days a week, plus bonus podcasts when they play on the weekends, tomorrow night, or this is the Friday show. So if you're listening on Friday, tonight against the Sacramento Kings, post-game podcast after that. So it's available everywhere. It's on YouTube. If you're new to the show, you don't know who I am, I'm John Karalis. I'm a beat writer covering the Celtics for Sports Illustrated, Celtics on SI. I have written a couple of books about this team. I've been covering the team for 20 years doing this podcast. For 10 of them. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase of tickets. Maybe you're looking for a ticket to get to what might be Jayson Tatum's return, if there is a return. And we're going to talk about, we're going to bring in Tom Westerholm. What's up, Tom?
You know, it was kind of Tatum to give us 20 hours or so between us talking about him and then him making everything that we said not irrelevant, but you know,
throwing it.
If somebody was a day late, on the podcast, they missed a lot, is what I was saying.
Yeah. It's interesting, and I think so. Later on, we'll get to we'll look ahead to the Celtics and how they're going to finish before the All-Star break. But the first two segments are all going to be about Tatum and Joe Mazzulla. We'll get to Joe Mazzulla in the second segment about how he's had no setbacks and all this stuff disrupting the Celtics, that whole concept. But after Chris Haynes, which I talked about in last night's post-game podcast, Ramona Shelburne came out with an interesting couple of tweets that said that she talked directly to Tatum. And she said, quote, "He wants to get it right the first time, so it's just a lot to think about." And then she said he added that he's progressing well, feels stronger, hasn't made a decision yet because of how serious the injury is. And he said, everyone here recognizes the seriousness of the injury and isn't rushing into any decisions. So it is a lot. It is an interesting kind of left turn here, because I thought it was just either you come back, you're healthy and you're mentally ready and you come back, or you're not healthy or you don't feel like confident out there and you don't come back. This concept of, well, I'm not sure if I want to, and I'll use the term disrupt because that's the term that was thrown around on the radio with Joe and Joe. Like, it would be some level of disruption. That doesn't necessarily have to be a negative term. That whole concept is, frankly, a little surprising to me. I don't know about you.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the concept of disruption. I mean, obviously, like you said, we're going to get into it later on, but it's unquestionably there. You know, it's going to happen, and I think it's interesting to hear Tatum talking about, like you said, get it right the first time. I think what we're seeing here is Tatum recognizing the importance of not being a negative disruption, and I think it's interesting to kind of look at how Tatum came up in the league from that regard, right? Because his second season was the Gordon Hayward year, right? Where Gordon Hayward came back and it disrupted everything. It ended an entire line that the Celtics were trying to follow. He was trying to go down, Danny Ainge was trying to go down a very specific path. Gordon Hayward's return disrupted all of that in a very negative way. And it wasn't Gordon Hayward's fault. I don't think anybody reasonable would look at Gordon Hayward and be like, wow, how did you do that to the Celtics? Yeah. And I wonder if part of Tatum's concern here is he saw that happen. And I wonder if he's just thinking to himself, I don't want to be that. I don't want that. I don't want to disrupt anything that's happening here in that negative way. I wonder how formative that was for him, given that, you know, at the time he was a really impressionable young NBA player. That was the start of things for him.
I can appreciate that. I think that's a great point. The connecting it to something that he's been through in the past. That's where a lot of this always comes from, right? You've experienced something and then all of a sudden that creeps up and be like, this might just be a little bit of that self-doubt of, I know I have to come back and be, it is going to change what this team is. There's no way around it. If Jayson Tatum comes back this season, his insertion into the lineup, it's going to be, you're throwing in a guy who hasn't played basketball since last May. It's going to be almost the full calendar year. So 9 months. And as he said, 50 to 60 games or whatever it is, he's going to have to get right. This is basically a preseason game for him. Meanwhile, his teammates have gone through all of this stuff, and they are in a place where the way I put it last night, for people who didn't hear it, like, I respect Tatum's respect for his teammates. They have worked this hard. They have gone through a thing. They have an identity. I don't want to come in and screw up that identity, because what have they been working for? That whole element of, I don't want to come in and be like, I'm more important than all you guys, so you guys got to wait for me to come back. At the same time, he is more important than basically everybody on that team except for Jaylen Brown, because if they're going to win a championship, they need a healthy Jayson Tatum. And this is just part of the Tatum recovery. It's, again, I can appreciate the whole Hayward thing, but this is also not Gordon Hayward.
It's not the same thing, for sure.
It's not the same thing at all. And some time to kind of come back and work through some stuff, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, especially because you can do it, as we've talked about, it's off the bench. Come in, do the Wemby.
Yeah.
Do the Wemby thing. Like, come in, check in for Jaylen. You don't have to have those guys like getting in each other's way. You have to, you just have to come in and work and knock off the rust and be the best you can be. And it's going to be in limited minutes. It's going to be in 15, 20, 25-minute increments. He's not just going to come back and play 40 minutes. And the hope is that his whatever percentage of himself that he is, eventually is just going to be better than, I don't know, Jordan Walsh or Josh Minot or, whoever. That's the whole thing. So where I've landed on this is, I just feel like there's maybe a little bit of self-doubt. The Gordon Hayward thing is certainly feels like that's something that's in his mind. And he doesn't want to be a negative. He does not want to be, come in, and Jaylen's having this whole first team All-NBA year, and he's been doing all of this stuff. He may not want to come in and say, hey, it's me, you step aside now because you've worked hard. So it's interesting, fascinating kind of place. And in a way, it's kind of like an example of the adjustments, the stuff that we talked about before, where Jaylen and Jayson are going to have to, figure things out a little bit before they kind of dive into, we're just going to get back to being a contender again. This is all part of the reintroduction kind of part.
Yeah. And I think to that point, right, if you think that Jayson Tatum isn't seeing all of this stuff about, like, is he going to disrupt things? If you're not like, he's seeing everybody calling Jaylen Brown an MVP candidate, which, I mean, this season, Jaylen Brown has gotten like more chatter, or at least as much chatter as Tatum has at any point in his career,
sure,
in terms of MVP, and maybe more serious chatter based on the fact that the Celtics weren't supposed to be this good, right? So that, Tatum is seeing all of that. Tatum has seen everybody who has said, like, Jaylen Brown was the finals MVP. He's seen all that stuff, like, guaranteed, right? He's very conscious of his legacy and how he's perceived and all of this stuff. So when he's saying, maybe I shouldn't come back, I haven't decided for sure if I should come back. Like, I think you're right. I think there is probably some level of, like, him being really cognizant of where things stand with the Celtics and what it would mean if he came back and the Celtics struggled. If the Celtics struggled to reintegrate him, I think he is probably very well aware of how that would look, and which stinks for him, right?
Yeah.
Because the Celtics need him back. Look no further than last night, right? The Celtics, like, they just didn't have it, and they need him. He's such an important piece. He's like you said, probably the most important piece. Maybe not, and this year maybe Jaylen Brown, supplants that. But like the story of the Boston Celtics, the most important story of the Boston Celtics over this whole season. They've had this nice year, but the most important story of the whole thing has just been when is Tatum coming back? Is it this year? How will he look when he does? Because that's the level of superstar he is. So I do feel for him, because I understand why there's that doubt there, and it's why I joked 2 days ago on the pod that if it was me, I'd come back for the Nets game rather than the Knicks. I just wouldn't want that level of like scrutiny on my first game back when I'm just getting back out there. So I don't know. I feel for him, because he is that important. Like, it's not Gordon Hayward. There is no, you are like the franchise in so many ways. And, but I also completely get why that level of question would be there.
I think the worst thing that's happened in this time, I'm a big believer in the best thing that happened is the worst thing that happened. And sometimes the worst things that happen can be the best things that happen. Like the worst thing that happened is Jayson Tatum's injury. But the best thing about it is, hey, look at what you get out of Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
And look at what you get out of these other guys. And you start to get a real sense of how this team needs to be built, strengths and weaknesses and all of that stuff. And then you turn around and you say, well, the best thing that happened is Jaylen Brown has led this team to all of this. But then the worst part of that is, well, now the Jaylen stands and the Jayson stands are back at it, and we're not coexisting anymore. This is like, hey, here's Jaylen. Look at, see, we knew he doesn't need Jayson Tatum, and all the Jayson Tatum people are like, what are you talking about? He look at his percentages are dipping and blah blah blah, and they're starting to fall apart again now. And it's just this back and forth where, if you praise Jayson Tatum, the Jaylen Brown people come up. If you praise Jaylen Brown, the Jayson Tatum people come up. And it very much becomes that old Twitter meme of, I like pancakes. Oh, so you hate waffles now. And that's what this has all become because of all of this, because Jaylen is so good and Jayson is coming back, and people can't handle the concept of, okay, so Jaylen is this good. Jayson is this good. Okay, they need each other. They know they need each other. So let's figure out how to get this thing back together. And that's where we are right now. This is the figuring out part. And I think Jayson is just saying out loud, hey, I know I've been building up to this, but I'm starting to get that, second thought, hold on, I'm almost ready, but I want to be absolutely sure. There's just that little bit of I think the steamroll of, head down, I'm rehabbing. Look at me. Look at me be how good I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm ready to make this return. And a rehab is inherently all about Jayson Tatum. It's all about, there's no teammate in the rehab. It's you. It's you against the injury. It's you against that mentality of, I can't do it. Oh yeah, I can do it. And then now you come to the culmination of it and you're like, oh, wait. Now there are teammates involved, and I can't just be me, which again, that's what a rehab is. A rehab is a test of will, and it's not that's not a criticism of Tatum. That's you. It's you against yourself, your body, and the doubters and all of that stuff. But then when you come up for air, you realize, now I have to incorporate my team, my teammates. They have to incorporate me. And I think this is where he's at. Let's come back. We'll talk about the physical, where Joe Mazzulla comes in and says there's no setbacks, and how this concept of disrupting, that's all coming up when we come back. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like being in an NBA arena when you see the crowd, when you see a Celtics going on a run. I know TD Garden explodes. If you've never been in there, you should. You should open up the Game Time app, and you can go to a Celtics game, and what you'll get is upfront pricing, no surprise fees when you're at checkout. You'll see the view from your seat. Again, if you've never been into the arena, I can say section 114, but you don't know what that means. But you can look on the app and say, oh, this is the view from section 114, and this is what I want to pay. Maybe that's not what you want to pay. Maybe that's not what you want to see. They have zone deals where you can kind of pick a section and Game Time picks the seats, and they'll help you save money. So whether it's last minute, whatever it is, the app is quick, easy to use, intuitive, and you can take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. That's Locked On, LOCKEDON, Locked On for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. And remember, if you're going on the web, it's gametime.co. Gametime.co. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. You're an everydayer, and now you can join the Everydayer Club to help you get ready. If you're getting ready for the trade deadline, it's going to be a fun one, and you need a group chat to keep up, join ours. The Everydayer Club gets you access to a group chat for Celtics fans on Discord, plus national chats where you can hang out with fans from across the league. You get ad-free versions of the show. You can sign up by February 5th. Use the code DEADLINE. You get your first month free. That's $5 off. If you want to pay up front, it's $50. So tap the link in the show notes or go to lockedonceltics.supercast.com. Lockedonceltics.supercast.com. All right. Joe Mazzulla was on the radio. He does a weekly appearance on 98.5 Sports Hub in Boston. Obviously, he was asked about this, and the takeaways, Tom, very simple. No setback, no physical setback. So none of this.
Yeah, and before we go past setbacks, I think it's so important to note everything that we said before, right? All that mentality stuff. As we were saying it, I was like, I really think we need to highlight that Joe said there were no setbacks, because like it's so important to note, like the physical stuff is all the same. Because it would be one thing if Tatum was like, I'm not, all of a sudden I tweet something's not feeling right.
Sure,
that's not what happened, right? So something is going on with all of this stuff based on the podcast conversation that he had that sparked this whole conversation. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. No, right. So there's zero setback, quote, progressing naturally. So he's checking the boxes. There are checkpoints. They have to go through a rehab process and hitting all those and continue to work. And that's the only thing I check in on and care about is where is he at as a person throughout the process, all that stuff, blah, blah, blah. He was asked about disruption. And Joe Mazzulla, in very Joe Mazzulla fashion, says, I look at disruption.
Quintessential. Yes.
Yeah. I look at disruption as a positive, just making a comeback and just make us better. So I think it's two things. One, I think you go through an injury and a process like this, 1,000 things are going to come up. And I think one of the greatest things about a guy like Jayson is his openness and his vulnerability and his honesty, where he's at as a person. And so it goes on. He goes, you should never just be worried about disrupting in a negative way. He'll be disrupting in a positive way because he'll make us better at both ends of the floor and already add to what we've been able to build here this season. Ugh. So the message from Joe Mazzulla is he's fine. Yep. He's checking the boxes. Whenever he wants to come back, we'd love him back. And yes, he would be disruptive, but in a positive way, because he would make us better and we'll figure it out, which 100%, 100%. Like that's, I think that gets to the heart of everything that I've been saying here. And the stuff the weird Tatum Twitter cult that is just driving me nuts. And I do not want to make any of my show about what happens on Twitter because Twitter's not real. But the people who don't understand that, yes, it will be a disruption to this team. Also, they will figure out this disruption and it will be a positive because you're adding Jayson freaking Tatum back to a lineup. And yes, he will have to adjust.
Did you say adding? Does that mean he's been subtracted? How dare you?
Yeah, that's essentially it. That's essentially it. So
it's really fun to do. It's like such a fun.
Oh man,
like to just it's the most fun little game to play. I enjoy it immensely.
It is fun.
I should just be a Twitter troll. I should get back on Twitter and just become a troll.
I mean, there's plenty of people out there that anyway. So yeah, I think this is the heart of it. That Jayson Tatum, like I was saying before, he knows that this is going to change things. He knows this is going to be disruptive. It is just a fact of the matter. This will change how things have been going. And even if in the short term, it's like a thunderstorm, right? You get the hot and the cold and they slam into each other and you get a thunderstorm. And at first you're like, man, this thunderstorm sucks. And that might happen with the Celtics. But then on the other end, you're like, man, we got all this water. This is great. There's, things are growing where we came out of it the other side. And, maybe a couple of tree branches are down, but in the end, we're doing okay. And we're better off for having gotten all this water and weather and all that stuff. That's
or to, I think Joe Mazzulla, it's like when you lift weights, right? You tear all those fibers and it's a disruption. You're just literally disrupting your muscles and then they grow back stronger. And I think, I think that's actually an important way to look at the Gordon Hayward thing too, right? Because you go back to that season and there was so much disruption and there was so much tearing and everything else. And so much of a storm. That entire season was just an absolute hurricane. But you come out on the other end of that with a genuine path forward, right? You're not worried about what does Kyrie Irving think of. I don't have to worry about how to integrate all these guys. And it's okay. This is the Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum show. And when you invest in the Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum show, eventually you get a title out of it. Like that was, I think that goes to your point, right? Whatever happens with this disruption, it will take some time, but like to your point, I don't know that it's always going to look good. And I know that people are not looking. I think people are really not looking forward to that part of it, partly because I think people are really worried about what other fans are going to say online, right? When Tatum comes back, if it's not perfect right away, I think people are anticipating look at the Celtics. It's over for the Celtics. And you know what? Yeah, that's probably going to happen, but it's not going to be over for the Celtics. They're going to have Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown back. And eventually that partnership will probably flourish again. I don't have a lot of question about that.
So I go back to the Gordon Hayward thing, and one of my biggest takeaways from that was how big a problem I always perceived Terry Rozier to be. I really felt like Terry Rozier was more than Kyrie, more than I think Terry Rozier was a much bigger problem because his minutes, he was going to be in that Gordon Hayward role. Hayward sucked. He was working his way back, and Terry Rozier was like, I can be better than him, and I don't understand why he is getting my minutes. That does not exist on this team. There's no question that when Jayson Tatum comes back, because who could possibly be supplanted? He's not supplanting anybody. Jordan Walsh? Jordan Walsh can't look at Jayson Tatum in any way and be like, oh, I should be getting those minutes. Jaylen Brown is well established as an all NBA level player. So he shouldn't be threatened by any of this. No one else on this team. Derek White's going to be like, thank God I get to go back to catch and shoot Derek White and not create a triple Derek White. Catch and shoot Derek White is like, oh man, that guy is amazing. And this Derek White is also really good, but catch and shoot White is better. So he's going to be like, yes, thank you. So everybody on this team should be welcoming Tatum back. Jaylen Brown should be like, oh God, we got some help. I don't have to do it all. You can still do basically everything that you've been doing. You just don't have to do it all. And that's going to be great because at the end of the game, when you're feeling tired, you won't be as tired because there are stretches where you could just be like, I'm going to go in the corner and let Jayson cook. And and Jayson doesn't have to do it all. He could be like, I'm going to go in the corner and let Jaylen cook because I can let him do that 5 more possessions a game than we used to. That's just, I think in the end, a real positive way to do this. And then in the fourth quarter, everybody's going to be that little bit fresher, maybe get a little bit better execution, and that's it. So whatever Tatum is worried about, I don't think that level. If the Gordon Hayward thing is in the back of his head, that dynamic doesn't exist. The locker room is incredibly different. It's a much stronger place. I don't think the guys in that locker room would allow that mentality to permeate anything. The people here are just so much better. Any young guys that are impacted are marginal contributors at this point, and even at their best, aren't going to grow into more of like Jordan Walsh. And then no disrespect to Jordan Walsh, by the way, when Jayson Tatum comes back next season, if Jordan Walsh is part of the rotation, he's going to be doing what he did this year. That's going to be his role, no matter what. So Hugo Gonzalez can find a way and grow. We'll see what he becomes. But in the end, I hope that Tatum kind of recognizes all of this stuff that we're saying and says, okay, maybe you don't make it a big splash. Maybe what you don't do is come back on Super Bowl Sunday, like we talked about. Maybe you do say, you know what, we're going to make it a different game. I'm going to make it a less meaningful game. And I'm not going to make myself as much of the center of attention as I wanted to, because he definitely, again, no shade, Jayson Tatum, he wanted to make this a big deal. He wanted to be, because he wants to, that's the triumph. That's the payoff.
Because it is a big deal. It's a huge deal.
Like, came back from
inherently, it's massive.
Right. And he wants to make it a big deal. But now I think he's realizing, like, this is about more than just me having this moment. Like, he should have this moment.
Yes.
But also it's about more than that. And it's okay that it's about more than that. Maybe you just rethink how you do it and you can move on from there. Like, you don't make this whole big thing about taking away from the team. Maybe you do it on the road. Maybe you rethink that and you say, I'm just going to come back. We're going to do it in Golden State. We're going to do it on the out of the All-Star break or whatever, and then build something up, and then you can kind of embrace the people at home. So I don't know. I think there's a way to do it. He might need to adjust it, but I think ultimately we're going to get into a good place where Tatum does still come back this year.
I think so too.
All right, so let's see what he's coming back to. We'll wrap up the show quickly. There's 7 more games before the break. The Celtics have been struggling a little bit. They're January. It's a January Celtics thing. So where will they end up? We'll do that when we come back. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Super Bowl Sunday is coming up, whether it involves Tatum or not. We know it's going to involve the Patriots and the Seahawks. It's one last kickoff, one more time to get in on the NFL action before that season closes at Super Bowl 60. And FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it all with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. So whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, or building one last same game parlay, this is the game that everybody's waiting for. So it's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to final whistle. Here's the offer. If you're a new customer, you bet $5 and you'll get $200 in bonus bets if you win. So make it a good one. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, football season is over. You have to turn your attention to something else. Last call for football on FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60 and official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. When you sign up, when you log in, they'll ask you to set your limit. Please do that. Set your limit. Be reasonable. And set it. If you hit a cold streak, they'll help you. They'll stop. You just chill out. When you get paid again or whatever, you can get back to it and have fun gambling responsibly. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Speaking of the Super Bowl, Locked On Patriots, Locked On Seahawks, Locked On NFL. You want to get ramped up for that for Super Bowl? That's where you got to go. Whatever fan you are, maybe you're Boston, all Boston. I'll be listening to Locked On Patriots. I'm unabashedly a Patriots fan, but maybe you're not. A lot of people aren't. So you want to root against the Patriots and listen to Locked On Seahawks. Check it out. Locked On NFL's got it all covered. So check that out. All right, Tom Westerholm. The Celtics on Friday night take on the Sacramento Kings. Then they take on Sunday afternoon the Milwaukee Bucks, the Giannis-less Milwaukee Bucks. Dallas, Houston, road back-to-back. I'm sorry, you said I had you muted.
I said maybe the forever Giannis-less.
Maybe the forever Giannis-less Milwaukee Bucks. Miami, New York on Super Bowl Sunday. Jayson Tatum return, maybe not. And then Chicago on Wednesday, the 11th, at home before heading out to the All-Star break. They have been sliding a little bit here. And that's to be expected. First of all, answer this for me. Regression or January doldrums?
I think it's a little bit regression, but I also think less doldrums and more. I think they look tired. Like, this looks like a really tired team. I don't know about doldrums as much as just like they have not had 2 days off in a row in a long
Yeah.
time. And they've had road trips, they've had all kinds of stuff. Like their schedule has been really, really rough. Like my big take from these last 7 games is if I were Joe Mazzulla, I would like you play Super Bowl Sunday, and then I tell every one of my rotation guys, goodbye, enjoy. I don't care about that Chicago game. Get out of here. Go. Yeah. Like, I mean, Jaylen's headed to the All-Star game, obviously, but like everybody else, go get your feet in the sand now. Start grounding. Get some of those earth particles in your feet. Like, heal up, because I'm like, I just, you have a couple days off before that Chicago game. I'm just telling them to leave.
Just go.
Goodbye.
Take 2 weeks off.
Thank you for your service. We'll see you soon.
And that would be fun. You get a Max Shulga.
Yep.
Ron
Harper. Yeah.
Ron Harper. Amari Williams. Get him out there. Yeah, sure. I'd be all for that. Joe Mazzulla is not going to do that.
I know.
But I agree. And, I think Jaylen is due for a day off. Like, he's been due for a day off. I'm surprised that he played in that Chicago game.
Video banked for when Tatum comes back.
Oh man, like he needs some time off, man, because the mid-range game has slipped a lot in January for Jaylen, and that's the thing. That what made the Celtics so good is Jaylen was just hitting these shots just at a ridiculous rate. You're like, man, he's just crushing us from mid-range and just opening up so many things. Now the Celtics, let's see, they've lost 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games in January, which is, that's a lot for them, for what this season has been. 2, 4, 5, 2, 3.
Well, while you're counting that, I also want to say about Jaylen's mid-range.
6 and 6 in their last 12.
Part of what made him so good at those mid-range shots was he was getting to his spots like so determinedly. And I think that's why to me, it looks more like tired legs than anything else.
Yeah.
Because it's harder for him to get to his spots. It's harder for him to get around people. Like, I don't think defenses suddenly figured Jaylen out. I think he's really tired.
They're being more physical with him, which plays to your point. Like, they're really being more physical with him. And so that's wearing him down, which is another reason, by the way, for Jayson to come back.
Yes.
Because now if you put Jayson Tatum on the floor with Jaylen, even some 60% of Jayson Tatum, you still have to worry about him. It just opens things up for Jay. I think that Jaylen has done such a great job this season. And now teams are just saying, fine, we're just going to beat the hell out of you because you're the only one that can create his own shot consistently outside of Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah.
Peyton Pritchard's probably the next best guy to create his own shot. And his size works against him where he can get in and get into people's bodies. But then when he turns around, if you're playing against Dyson Daniels, oh crap, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
So where they end up at this point is going to be interesting because you look at, you should beat Sacramento, Milwaukee. You should beat, Chicago. You should, well, depending on if they follow your plan or not. New York will be iffy. Miami, you probably should beat, but that's always a weird game. And then you got that Dallas, Houston, where you don't know what version of Dallas you're going to get. And they've had some good games. Houston is just so poorly the Celtics match up so poorly, even though Steven Adams is done for the season. That's still a tough matchup for them. So I don't know where they
back. Yeah.
On a back-to-back. Yeah. So I don't know where the Celtics end up here. The good thing is that they've banked so many wins. I remember saying this on a podcast a while ago. You bank the wins when you can, because now, okay, they're tied. They're tied for second. They're 6 and 6 in their last 12. Even if they continue along at 500 and they go into the All-Star break at 3rd or 4th, that's still okay. You're still okay. So I like where you're at on this, because I think there might be a tiny bit of regression, but with the regression, I think regression is inherently part, as the season goes on, inherently part of fatigue.
Yes.
So
Yep.
maybe it is even an unfair classification to say, well, Jaylen's mid-range shot is regressing. Jaylen's also really tired, and as the 82 game season goes on, you're gonna regress sometimes just because you're like, oh God, I can't get up on these jumpers anymore.
Yeah, it's like you're regressing, like that does happen, but then also your regression is amplified by your exhaustion. Your regression is amplified by not having 2 days off in a row. So it's like you don't know where one starts and the other ends, but like they're both there for sure. And and they do not help each other.
They do not. I feel like Jayson Tatum can help.
Yeah.
Jayson Tatum can help a lot of this, even as he's working his way back. Because
help? Does that mean he's been hurting?
That's right. That's exactly right. You know what? I'm going to shut up now. And I'm going to wrap up the show. Because I've probably said a dozen things in here that people on Twitter are going to, I don't know. It is really funny. It's just really funny. And I'll save this for this. Now I'm at the end of the show. I can get into it a little bit.
Minute 36. You're like, all right, like let's
just for a second. I don't care. I don't care if people disagree with me. Mm-hmm. I don't care if people think I'm a moron. There's sometimes I say things. Sometimes you say things that you're like off the top of your head, like you're saying it, and you go, "Oh, wait a minute, that's a thing." And then afterwards, you go, well, maybe not. When you talk for a living and write for a living, ideas pop in your head, you explore them, you write them, and then afterwards you go, maybe not. And you get a ration of crap for it. And then, but the thing that bothers me about what's been happening here, like, don't make up things that I said. Don't put words in my mouth. Don't do the, oh, you hate waffles when I say I like pancakes, because I've said plenty. I've said enough for you to get mad at. Normally, I've had opinions, and I think I'm one of the more rational people around, and I still have opinions that maybe some people don't like. Fine, that's fine. But geez, the people taking what I said and going 3 steps down the road and then saying, well, you're basically saying this, and that's stupid. And like, well, I didn't say those words at all. So that's the part that's just very Twitter. Twitter is so bad now. I want to transition to Blue Sky so bad. I've said that for like a year now.
Yeah.
But all the people are on Twitter, like all the PR sources, all of the teams, all of everything. I'm just like, can somebody just move on over? It's like the Simpsons where they move the town. The other town is just turned into a pile of garbage. Let's just move the town over here and turn this into a pile of garbage. And then I'll go on to, I don't know, Threads is horrible. Threads might be worse, but anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Not 3 cents. I can barely believe you.
Bye, Tom.
Appreciate it, man.
I do appreciate Tom Westerholm being here, giving me that. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. It's just funny. It's just funny on a daily basis. Somebody asked me on Twitter, was like, how do you have the energy to do this? And I was like, you know what? It's my own fault because I engage. Very easily just mute people and just not even care. But for some reason, I like to interact. I like to be understood. I think that's the thing. When people don't understand what I'm saying, it bugs me. So understand this. The podcast is over. And thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I do appreciate you being here every Monday through Friday. I got a bonus podcast coming up after the Kings game. So make sure you listen to that. I will be here after that, starting next week, another Monday through Friday, and then a Super Bowl Sunday podcast. I will give you a Super Bowl Sunday podcast and hopefully do that in enough time to go watch the Patriots win. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Please share the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.